Hey, hello everyone. Hello everyone. What they say? Get in here. Get in here. Get in here. Who say that? Get
I
in
don't know.
here.
It sounds familiar,
Get
but I'm not the best pop culture person.
in here. Somebody on their podcast say that. Hey everyone. You're at Elevated Life. How to elevate in your love of self, your interactions, your focus, and your energy. I'm your good friend Sheila, uh, and this is
Danielle.
Miss Danielle. And we're just here to kind of have a conversation about how to live, how to elevate, how to move, how to transition. I mean, we have this conversation about, forgive my voice, honestly, I'm not sick. I just don't know, maybe I've talked a lot, but so my voice is a little raspy, so forgive me for that. But we have this conversation around healing in our community and transitioning and things like that. And so we definitely wanted to make sure that we provided some resources to kind of help individuals. So that's why we came up with how to elevate in your life, right? Because we wanted to kind of give you some tools for your toolbox, right? Again, I'm Sheila. I am the creator of the Stop and Now program, which actually focuses on teaching people how to stop doing the things in your life that's stopping you from getting your goals. My main focus is on procrastination and self-sabotage, Miss Danielle.
I
And
know.
it's an imposter syndrome, right? And so came up with that framework. And so, we want workshops um
How's
and
it
courses.
going?
Yeah, and
Quick
courses.
check in. How's the workshop going?
The workshops are going well. Miss Lachey be on me so about them, so they're going well. How
That's
you
good.
doing? What do you do?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking.
Uh-huh.
I'm Danielle MacArthur of DCDR Solutions. I'm a small business entrepreneurship coach. I focus on working with people that's making that transition from side hustle to trying to actually crank out an actual business. I go
Mm-hmm.
over all the nitty gritty details and all the ugly stuff people don't want to realize, but also a lot of the mindset work that comes
Mm-hmm.
along with making that transition, um,
Mm-hmm.
which is very big. So I like doing that. So
Yes.
that's me.
Yes. 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 So today's show, we got that out the way. Oh, let's do our mindful moment. Mindful moment. Let's bring it in. Hey, you know what? It's Wednesday. Lot going on. So
Oh,
let's kind
very
of bring the day in so that we can get to the conversation that we want to have. So let's take a deep breath, cleansing breath. And like I say every week, like just being conscious of your breath just does so much.
good.
It calms us, it cools us. But for this particular reason, it's resetting you for this conversation so you can be present. You guys make sure you subscribe to uh our YouTube channel in 2023. That's where we're gonna be live streaming from YouTube. So you definitely want to get those notifications. So make sure you go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If this conversation is for you, we ask that you like it, that you share, that you comment, right? And if it's not for you, still like it, share, and comment because it may be for someone around you. So a lot going on in the world. But particularly today, Miss Danielle, I wanted to have a conversation. If you guys seen our show title, it's signs that I may need help now. Now. So y'all heard about Twitch, right? Death of Twitch. And so many comments was coming up, Miss Danielle, like you never know what people going through. You never know what people going through. You never know what people going through. So check on your strong friends and check on your good friends. And so this conversation is particularly about, well, how to check up on ourselves, because a lot of times I think we don't know that we may need help, right? And because we don't know we need help, we can go down this rabbit hole or this spiral, right? Because we don't know that we need help, or we don't know how to ask for help. What do you
Yes.
think about that?
I think I feel like my personal opinion, you'll know you need help. But I think the bigger piece is asking
Asking for help.
or
Yeah.
and being comfortable being vulnerable.
Yeah. So let's ask our first question, like we always do, because we're in discovery. So we're going to have a conversation about discovering, and then our strategy and then our implementation. So the first question, Miss Danielle, is what is help?
Ooh.
What is help? What is this thing that we struggle to struggle to ask for? This thing that we have some stigma over. What is help in your personal definition without going to Google
It
first?
might, it might look because it's one of those simple words that's so much bigger. That was like the what is love, but for me, help is it's kind of like a series of things because in order to get help, you need to acknowledge a weakness or a weak point, but it's getting assistance with something that you cannot take on all by yourself, almost like lifting a couch.
Right. So what I hear you saying is help is just simply assistance.
Assistance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me
Yeah,
see.
what's technical?
The technical form is make it easy for someone to do something, um, to serve someone. The action of helping someone to do something or assistance, like you said. But I like to make it easier for someone to do something by offering one certain resources, right?
It is. That's big.
So, because I think that when we think about this word help, because contextually we don't really know, because let me go to the second one, because I think this is going to explain it. Why is there a stigma around receiving assistance,
Be
especially in some communities like ours?
yes, in my opinion, it's what I said earlier. It's the you don't want to appear vulnerable or
Mm-hmm.
weak, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe even you feel like you're not intelligent because you can't figure out the problem yourself and you don't want other people to know you can't figure out the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be a number of things, but I think one of the biggest community ones is exposing yourself, putting your
Mm.
business in the streets, and that's
Mm.
tied to trust.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
you don't even
So,
trust that a therapist is, legally obligated to keep your stuff,
mhm, yeah,
personal, or you don't trust your friends to, with sensitive information, you don't have the right people around you. And so I think it's linked to trust.
yeah. So this stigma receiving help, I think it's the perception, right? I think it's the perception of what a person's going to think of me, right? If I need this help, right? So they're going to think I'm weak. They're going to
Ooh,
think I don't.
judgment.
Yeah,
Ah,
the
fear of
judgment
judgment.
that, yeah, like, oh, if I go ask for help, then they're gonna think I'm weak, or or like something's wrong with me. Like these judgments come up, and so there's this idea that you should know how to do this already, right? So you should
Yep.
know how to manage this crisis. You should know how to communicate effectively. You should know how to manage your emotions. Somewhere in our minds, we have this narrative that you should already know.
Even though we ain't
So,
been taught.
yeah, it's something you haven't been taught. And so to ask for help is like saying, I don't know the thing that ideally I think I'm supposed to know.
Which doesn't make any sense
Right. It doesn't make any sense rationally, but it
yeah,
makes a lot of sense emotionally
at the time.
at the time, right? And so many of us continue to do stuff and do stuff and do stuff, and we need help, and things are not being done, but we have this judgment on what that means. And so I just wanted to clarify, what is help? Help is just getting assistance to make something easier,
Yep.
right? Now, I don't know about you, Miss Danielle, but I like ease. I'm always asking for help. I just told Miss Danielle today, I just hired a coach, right? Because I needed some help. I hire marketers. Why? Because I need help. I hire assistant. Why? Because I need help. And when I came into business, Miss Danielle, it was like, I don't know if I should know how to do this. And I'm, spending 4, 5, 10 hours trying to make a graphic, you know, and it's like, girl, hire somebody to help you,
Yeah.
right? At a time, even with working with my clients or me, some stuff I'm just reeling in my head. REEL. Girl, go get a therapist so you can talk about that. Go get a coach so you can talk about that. I had an issue with my performance and how I perform, and I went and got a performance coach because I needed help. I wanted to perform at my optimal level. So help is essentially making the thing easy. That has been difficult for you. Okay. Now, surface. Now, let's talk about the type of help. And again, this conversation came up because of the situation that happened to Twitch. But in a lot of people's lives, right? Meltdowns, crises, like I said, things not getting done, not feeling efficient, not feeling good enough, right? All of these emotional things are going on, this emotional turmoil, and we don't know when to ask for it.
Yeah.
So the purpose of this conversation is how to know if I need help. So I want to go over 10, I want you and I to discuss 10 ways that people can identify if you need to go ask somebody, hey, can you help me make this thing a little easier,
Yeah.
right? And that could be through a plan, through a strategy, through talking or whatever. But can you help me make this thing a little easier, right? Right. Have you ever asked for help before I get that? Have you ever had to ask for
I
help?
was gonna say, that is something I am coming to terms with only recently.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
have, have my close people tell me I'm historically stubborn,
Mm-hmm.
and because I struggle with that. I take pride in doing things myself, but then over time, I've started to realize it's kind of like you said. Um, I put a time balance to things now because for me, everything has to be like a math. And it's like, if it's going to take me so much time to try to figure this out, no, I need help. Like, if I
Mm-hmm.
can't get it in the first 30 minutes, I need to ask for help. Or if this
Mm-hmm.
task is going to take me so much, or if this is going to physically exert me, I had to break it down in stupid technical terms because that's how my brain works. But now,
Mm-hmm.
like, it helps me better identify, like, this is something I can do. This is something I need assistance with. And even when it comes to things that you can do, but then there's time. And it's like, yes, I can do that, but I want to spend my time doing something else. So I need help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what about emotional things? Do you talk to your friends? Do you seek out
Oh,
help when?
now that I love talking to people, and I have a nice eclectic mix of people. I have a different range. Like, if it's career stuff, I have a person. If it's personal stuff, I have a person. So that is one thing that I do pride myself on. I love talking it out and getting that feedback. And that's actually how I've been able to help myself in times when I realized I needed help now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how to know if you need help, right? Or how to know if I need help? Because I want you guys to read it like you're reading it. The first way we know that, hey, I may need help is when we're struggling to work, we're struggling to parent, and we're struggling to keep up at home. I do want to say this that, and I said I was going to start doing this. I told Miss Danielle this.
It's a ticker.
So I often will take information. So I go and read information and then I will bring it in. So this information is actually some insight that I got from Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shields. They had an article about it. So if you guys want to go read that article, you can. But I just kind of sensitize it and bring it here because I want to be factual and then bring my experiences in so we can have a full conversation, right? And so most of the time, you need help because you're struggling to work, parent, or keep up at the house. Now, this one, I put it at number one because I think it's the simplest thing, And we could talk about procrastination, right? Just not being able to do it or just feeling overwhelmed. Or we could have this thing where it's just a lot on our plate. So we're blaming the lot on our plate for not being able to address the simple things in our life, right? So the not keeping up with our home, right? Not cleaning, cooking. I ain't gonna
And I will say to the standard that you normally have,
to
because
the stand. Yes, yes,
as a historically slightly messy person, like I always struggle to reach the HGTV looking stuff, but that's not what I'm. But if I don't keep up base standards on my expectations, that's when I know it's a problem. So
yeah, yeah. And I want to say, struggling at work, paperwork is behind. Now, this is a very, like I said, this is a very, because how many of us are behind on our paperwork, right?
everybody,
How many of us feel overwhelmed and impaired, and how many of us, like you said, have a messy house? But I really want the people to know that this can be a sign that you need to ask for help. Either you having some, and again, I want to kind of start these a little low and kind of get a bigger. So this is like one of those grandial signs, right? Like you may have an organizational problem. That may be an emotional thing, right? Of how you feel when it's time to parent, or maybe there's some coping skills that you need with parenting, or some organizational skills you need to keep up at work, or maybe you need to, balance your life, right? So maybe you need to start having a conversation about how to create balance in your life so you can handle the task, or maybe you have too many tasks that you're trying to balance and you need to
that
start
part.
prioritizing. So very simple, struggling at work, parent, and keeping up the home, but it is an identifier that, hey, maybe you need to talk to a coach or an organized person or something. Now, let me tell you this. I had this problem keeping up with my home back in paperwork. As a therapist, we had a lot of paperwork. And Miss Danielle, I hired somebody. I hired my auntie before I hired um, uh, I want to say maid service to come in. I hired my aunt because I just didn't have the skills, right? I just didn't have the skills to know how to, when I get out my session, do my note, right there, finish it, put it up. Like I didn't have the skill of, listen, when you cook, wash the dishes, put them up. It was the skills that
Yeah,
I was never taught, I didn't know about. But here's the thing, if you stay unskillful, then this is going to trigger some emotions,
yeah,
some inadequacy, some deeper feelings in you that may now start to trickle on in other parts of your life.
yeah.
And so, like I
Snowball.
said, it's a whisper, but it can speak volumes to, hey, I need to develop some skills around these areas.
Because
Along with
I had that um in my corporate world, where I was a first time manager, and they didn't train us. They didn't
Mhm.
train us how to delegate and do things properly. So I was just doing everything myself. I was doing everything myself, and eventually got to the point where it was like, I think my boss, who she was overloaded too. So it took her a
Mhm.
while to check in with me, but she was like, you got to delegate. You got to delegate. And so I just started little by little delegating and letting go and letting a little bit go and letting a little bit go. But it's what exactly what you said. It's the identification of, I'm not that good at this. Like
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
that's the first sign, because if you can't acknowledge that you're not that good at it, and it's not the worst thing, obviously this isn't a death sentence, but saying that is the first step, because if you don't acknowledge that, it's going to snowball, and then you're going to be drowning, and then it's going to cause you to miss something very important
Yeah. Well,
in the
and
guilt.
it makes you, I'm glad you're on that point up, because I think it definitely makes you miss out on important events, important, and it becomes, like you said, the snowball effect. And again, we're talking about skills at this level. You
Yeah,
just don't have the skills, but the judgment, right? The narrative is, I'm supposed to know how to do this. If you gave me all this work to do, then somewhere in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I should know how to organize this work. If I'm renting or owning a house, then in my mind, I should know how to keep this clean. But if you never was in a system
man,
where
what?
that process was in place and you never had anyone to hold you accountable to that system, then that could cause a problem. Why is this important to say? Because then that problem can create a problem, right? It can
Over
tap
time.
into some already um some dis-ease that you may already have, right? It could affect the relationships, right? And then kids, you only got so much time for kids, and so a lot of us don't have patience, but patience is a skill that's developed. A lot of
Yeah.
us don't know how to parent, right? So you may need to take some parenting classes to know how to communicate. So again, on a very surface level, a very simple level, hey, if you're struggling at work as a parent or keeping up your home, you may want to start looking into getting some help, right? And seeing how to develop the skill of um, organization at work, communicating as a parent, and being emotionally available, and then how to keep up a routine in your home. All right.
Yes.
Number two, you want to read that?
Unable to handle stress with normal coping strategies, having emotional outbursts.
Right. So unable to handle stress with normal coping skills. So we all know that stress is normal, right? We have good stressors and we have bad stressors. The issue here is that you you're unable to do that anymore, right? Like what you could tolerate two
Yeah.
years ago, you can no longer tolerate now.
Yep.
What you could understand 2 weeks ago, you don't understand that now, right? And it's creating these this inability to cope, right? Or use what you used to do to be able to cope. And I kind of hashtag or like dashed emotional outbursts, like anger outbursts, like um, crying spells, you know,
Explosive. Ain't I just dropped the glass and now I'm cursing
yeah,
like a sailor.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, or just angry at everybody, right?
yes,
Because now
just
you can't handle the stress at work, so you come home and you scream at everybody. This is again now we stepping up a little bit. Now this is not internal organization. This is emotional now. Like I can't even manage my emotions
right.
around things.
And I think another point that I think this fits under because it's kind of like a passive aggressive emotional outburst. I remember when I was going through a dark place, I would get mad at other people being happy.
Mm,
And it would be like, "Well, she's so happy for?" Like, and
mhm,
it was just like, "What you?" And because I remember once I got out of it, it was like, "Man, you was really hating just because she was happy."
mhm. Yeah,
But
yeah,
you're mad at other people for being able to handle their stress and you
mhm,
can't. And it's
mhm,
like you take your anger out on other people. And
yeah,
it could be passive aggressive where you're just rude
mhm,
or you may not be having an emotional outburst, but you're like snippy and you're rude and you just
yeah.
when it's not called for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that was good. And I think a lot of people probably can identify that. Hey, if y'all can identify with that, or if y'all have any comments about these, drop a heart, raise your hand. Hey, that's me. All right.
Let us
Number
know which one
three.
resonates.
Huh?
I said, let us know which one resonates with you.
Yeah, yeah. Difficulty maintaining a healthy appetite or experiencing significant weight loss. And I should have put weight gain here
Yeah, I
too.
was about to say because it could go either way. Because I'm a
Yeah,
stress. I don't eat when I'm stressed, but I've heard there's the other way too.
yeah, yeah. And because I know me, I don't lose weight. I gain weight. I pick up weight, right? Because I'm like, eating now, emotionally eating, right? And that emotional eating can cause me to, pick up weight and stuff. So this is a big sign. Like some people go all day and just like, I just didn't have an appetite. I don't feel like eating.
Yeah,
Again,
that's
one
me.
of these I don't even want to say subtle things, but it's subtle, but it's important. If you find that you're not maintaining, a healthy diet, it's a reason for that. And what's distracting you from eating, or what's making you emotionally eat? So now you find yourself always hungry for salty foods or for sugary foods, right? Just to in some way ease whatever is going on. So we definitely want to, identify if we need help by how we're maintaining our appetite, how we're maintaining a healthy appetite, and if we're losing weight significantly or picking up weight significantly, right? We definitely want to do that.
Yes.
Number 4, this big. And I think this is big, using drugs or alcohol to cope, because I think there's a gray line here. Like, oh no,
There
I'm just having
is.
fun, right? This is not a problem. I'm just gonna go out and
Because
have fun.
it's so I look, I just realized that I did this at one point in time. If my mom would really get me, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I need a drink.
Mm-hmm.
But it's exactly what you said. It's a great line. Now, if that's once a month, you know, every day,
Mm-hmm.
you know, every 4 hours,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be able to identify me. But even at one, I was like, I can't keep doing this. But right now, I need this right now.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, sometimes it's, oh, I had a stressful week. I need a drink, right? Like, or um, you know, just the narrative behind it doesn't make it as big of an issue as it quote unquote probably could be, because I'm just having a drink with my friends. Now we could be drinking at home, and then the whole, when you see TV, what are they doing? Pouring a glass of wine, or
It's too
at the
normalized.
bar, right? And so we cannot sometimes see this use of drugs and alcohol as a way to cope, as a sign of us coping with life. We can actually just see it as a lifestyle. Like, I'm just drinking with my friends. Now,
Yeah.
here's when we know it's excessive: when you're drinking and getting drunk, when your drinkiness is interfering with your life. So you're unable to work, you're unable to function, right?
You're
You're
able to
blacking
clean
out.
your
Like,
house, cook food.
yeah, 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 yeah.
If you're
So you
blacking
definitely want
out,
to, yeah,
yes.
yeah, getting sick. So you definitely want to start talking to a person and say, you know what? I know, and drinking. Then we got the addictive thing too. Like, a lot of people been drinking since they was 17. This all they know. 15, 14, right? This is the only behavior they know. So, you know,
That's
I
a
do this
different
because this
that's
is
a
what I do.
different talk.
Yeah, this is what I do. But if you're not processing your emotions, right, and you're
If you're
not talking about the situation, and you're just drinking it down, or you're smoking it down, or you're drugging it out, then that may be an issue that
yeah,
you need to go ask for some help, right? And it may not be about the drinking specifically. It may be the reason why you keep going to a drink. So, in your case, I'm gonna go have a drink because my mama just made me mad. Let me go have a drink. It may be talking about, okay, why is your mama, what kind of relationship do you want with your mom? What is the issues around your mom? Let's kind of process that, right? And a lot of times when you just feel stuck, like she ain't gonna change. And that be the point too. Like, a lot of times we don't seek help because we feel, and I think we're gonna get to a hopeless, like, he ain't gonna change, she ain't gonna change. So why even talk about it, right?
I'm
But
gonna
you
drink
have
it
a
down.
problem that still needs to be voiced, right? You have an issue that you still need to talk about. I, this one came up, and I was gonna kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to put this one on here, but Miss Danielle was like, oh yeah, put that one on there, right? So why did
Because
you say put this one on here?
I said this because I'm not a person that drinks. I don't enjoy it. And I do it very rarely, and I don't partake. I've never done like drugs and stuff like that, especially in my younger years and all that other stuff. But when I went through a very dark phase, I was doing reckless things in the form of like meeting people I didn't know and
Mm-hmm.
putting myself in situations that something bad could have happened, but I didn't even care. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just removing the common sense and those filters. And that was actually like one of my lowest points. So that's why I wanted to put it in there, because it rang true to me.
Mm-hmm.
That I hit my lowest point when I did something and I was like, I don't even like, this person could kill me tonight and I don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, and that's crazy, but it was very eye opening for me, even though,
Yeah.
I put myself in that situation.
Yeah, yeah. And just for the people who listening, this is number 5, engaging in risky, risk-taking behaviors. And we're going to talk about this a bit. And then you guys, I'm going to ask you guys to come back in and tune in, because Another thing, we're cutting our show to like between 30 and 40 minutes. Do you want to go the whole time? You think it's important?
I think it's important today.
Okay, we can go the
We
whole
can
time.
keep we
So
can keep
engaging in risky activity, risk-taking activity. This could be sexually, like you just, going out, you just having sex with anybody,
because
like
that's how I saw it. Like it's kind of different from it may be linked to drugs and alcohol, but it can be separate.
yeah, I've heard about people getting on a car and getting on the highway and just driving really fast,
Yeah.
like it's speeding, reckless driving, just to kind of get whatever that feeling is off of them. Um, just like you said, meeting strangers, just doing random things, and it's risky behavior. You're taking these risks because
You don't
you're
care.
stressed out or just don't care, or you're numb and you just like bump it, let's get it over, whatever. And I say sex because I think a lot of times we can use sex as a way to numb ourselves,
Yeah.
or just release
Or
or
because that's what I
just
was gonna say. I've heard that before, and I think it is a good like where you just want to feel something. That's like people that cut themselves. That's what they
yeah,
say. I just wanted to feel
yeah,
something, and
yeah,
it's such a big event that it's like, okay, maybe this will pull something out of me that I can't pull out on my own.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So engaging in risk-taking behaviors. Just say, you need to ask for help. Hey, this is out of my character. And how
Yeah.
do we know it's risky behavior? Because this out of my character. This ain't even something I would be doing. But here I am, I'm
What would
doing
you say if somebody else told you they did it?
it. Yeah, yeah,
That's a good gauge.
yeah, yeah. Now some of us is just are promiscuous people. And it may be, I mean, is that risky behavior? It could be. But if your norm is that, then that's fine. But if you
Are
find
doing
yourself now, you was here, you have values around it, but now I just like bump it. Hey, there's some emotions and some things that you're dealing with. Okay. Whew. What's this one, Miss Danielle?
unable to focus.
Hey, you know what? I might need help because I just can't focus. Like I feel like I'm everywhere. Every time I sit down at my computer, I'm going to do one thing and I find myself on social media. I find myself, folding clothes, or I just can't read what I'm supposed to read, or I'm at work and I'm not getting my work done and my work is piling up, and it's just like I just cannot focus, right? And so we definitely want to make sure that we are, you know, coming in and identifying that, right? If you're unable to focus, you may need to reach out for help, right? This is a big one. Oh, I
You know,
put sleeplessness or not being able to sleep, but I wanted to put sleeplessness or sleeping too much.
yes. Because
Okay.
sleeplessness, and look, this is something I'm going to say it, and they'll know who I'm talking to. Engaging in pointless things that disrupt you, like you zone out on TikTok for hours. You know, you zone out on Facebook shorts for hours. And
Mm-hmm.
that keeps you up. You're not doing anything productive. I mean, because you could be sitting there, but I think that's another one where it's like, well, I'm doing something. Are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, and then sleeplessness is like literally some people can just lay in the bed,
Yeah.
but but their body won't allow them to go to sleep, or they have racing thoughts when they go to sleep. Like all they
Yeah.
can hear is all this stuff that's going on. So we definitely want to look if there's some sleeplessness going on where you can't sleep, or you find yourself sleeping too much, like you're hiding. Like, oh, I'm just
That
so tired. I'm so
that was
drained.
my big one. I would do bare minimum. I would go to work. I would barely take care of the kids, and my take care, I was in the bed and taking care of the kids. Like
Mhm. Yeah,
very
yeah.
like bare minimum functioning. Everything else was in the bed.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad that you brought up the bare minimum because we didn't put this in any of these. Even in our bonuses, we didn't talk about this. But caring for self, right? Like the hygiene, your hygiene, or putting on clothes, or just, you know, getting out the house or whatever. Like this is a sign that you may need to ask for help. Again, we're on number 7. The reason we're having this conversation is because we heard about the guy Twitch today who died And and I kept hearing a lot of people say, hey, we never know what people got going on. You never know what people got going on. Check on your strong friends and all of that. But I think a lot of people, Miss Danielle, just don't know how to ask for help.
Yep.
Right. And so these are, if you're going through any of these 9, and then I got some bonuses, then it may be a sign that, like, oh, I probably need to go talk to somebody. Right. Number 8, you lack interest in activity that once brought you enjoyment. And
You
then
don't
Miss
want to.
Danielle said what?
Hopelessness and a bleak outlook on life. We kind of said that earlier. It ain't nothing gonna get better. It's never
Mm-hmm.
gonna change. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
gonna help me. Don't
Mm-hmm.
nobody want to help me. I'm
Yeah,
all alone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like this. I like this one because I think people will start to then label themselves like, oh, I'm an introvert. I'm just not into that anymore.
Not the
It could
same.
really be some apathy going on. And what the word apathy is you don't care. Like, you just don't have emotions anymore. So it's like, I don't care. It's not depressed, right? It's not like you're depressed. It's that you're apathetic. Like, you just don't have a care. Like, you don't have any emotions about anything. It's just like, you saw the little, my, like they call it my, like the little emoji. I think it's my, is it called my?
Oh, meh,
Meh.
meh.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, just,
Eh,
yeah. And
like
okay.
whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And a lot of times we can get to this point of meh. Is it meh?
Yeah, meh.
Yeah. And we don't even know we're there. But how we know we're there is because we don't even do the things that we used to do. We used to
Yes.
like going to hang out, with our friends, but now it's like, I ain't going. Used to like going to the beach and, having fun. No, I ain't going there. Used to like going shopping. You don't want to shop no more.
You
Used
used
to
to
like
like
cooking. You
cooking. I
know,
was about to
yeah,
say, you used to like cooking, or you used to like doing your hair, like you said, dressing up
dressing
and
up. And you just like,
cleaning your car, little stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Going out Saturday, going for a drive. I don't want to do that no more. So when you start to lack this interest in things that you once enjoy, you may want to go ask for help and get some assistance. And again, that hopelessness and bleak outlook on life. Miss Danielle talked about her mom. I know I felt like this at one time. You know, why if they're not going to change? And remember, it's not about changing them. It's about you making those incremental changes, right? To either accept them for who they are, but more importantly, being able to manage your emotions. All right. Number 9, they over here just having a conversation. Let me look down this thread.
Look, cause he's just making fun of us. That's why.
Okay, number nine.
Well,
Number nine. Number 9. Panic attacks or anxiety. Again, we started slow, right? We started with these like, you ain't keeping up. Some skills, right? You don't have the skills that you need. And then we slowly got into emotional things like the math and the dis-ease, right? But this is where now
this is where your body's trying to tell you, hey
your
man,
body is now expressing there's a problem here,
we
right?
got a problem.
So yeah, so we're having panic attacks or we're having anxiety. What is the panic attack? It feels like a heart attack. Feel like you just, you go into a panic,
You
feels
feel
like
like you're about to die. I had one.
mm-hmm.
It's terrible. And it's
Yeah,
just you don't know why, but you just feel like you're about to die,
yeah,
and you just feel death coming, and
yeah,
heart racing. You start to
yeah,
hyperventilate, all that other
yeah,
stuff. Feel like the world's smushing you in.
yeah, yeah. And
Weird
then
pain.
anxiety. And I just said like anxiety. We all have experienced some anxiety in our life, but even if you're experiencing anxiety around certain things, I would say go ask for help because there's a reason why this anxiety is showing up. So if you have some anxiety, and I'll talk about this more between the difference between therapy and coaching, but if you notice that you're having anxiety around asking for the raise or doing a certain task or communicating your needs to your in your relationship or communicating your boundaries to a friend and this is making you anxious, then you may need to ask for help because there's an issue there that we want to resolve. There's a dis-ease there that we want to dissolve. And then I have some bonuses.
Oh, what we got?
The bonus,
Ooh,
before we get to the bonuses. So again, we went over these 9 things: panic attacks lack of interest in things that you once like, sleeplessness or some sleeping disease, unable to focus, engaging in risky behaviors, using drugs or alcohol to cope, um, eat around eating, not being able to manage your appetite, or your appetite is gone, or excessive weight gain, unable to handle stress, abnormal, unable to handle stress with normal coping skills, or some kind of emotional outburst,
Outbursts. Yep.
right? And then the simplest of the simplest, let's put struggling to work, parent, or which is a simple skill that you don't have, but it's causing some issues, right? So I wanted to get some bonuses because I'm like, yep, that's all good, but there's some couple of more things that I think we can add to this, and Danielle and I talked about it. Fear of, and here are some bigger ones, right? So again, we talked about panic attack, but this is some bigger ones too, right? Fear of being around others, even children, a family, and or isolating,
And you
right?
know what comes up for me is it's the fear is almost being exposed and confronted on what you're going through.
They
You
may
don't want
find out.
somebody to call y'all, hey girl, we ain't gonna do your hair.
Right,
You know,
right. Something going
I ain't
on with it.
I
Something
ain't
going on
seen
with
you
this.
in a while. What's
Right,
going
right,
on? You look sad. Because
right,
sometimes you don't want to hear the comments when you're in the
right,
dark place.
right. And I want to attach this too to distrust, and I need to put that on there because and not even being able to trust your family, like you making them narratives like, oh, I can't talk to them, I can't tell them what's going on. Um, I don't trust my friends with this information, so you become very much isolated, and that's why you put like this isolated thing where you fear being around people, right? Because of being exposed or what they may do or not do. And then it's this narrative of distrust, not being able to trust them, not being able to trust your coworkers and things like that. Hey, if you got these type of fears and distrust that's coming up, you may need to go talk to somebody about it, preferably a therapist, about that. Okay. Um, and a sense of guilt and unworthiness.
Very low vibrations there, right?
These are very low, and this is like, to me, carbon monoxide.
Ooh,
You know,
poison.
guilt and worthlessness is like a silent emotional killer because it's a conversation that you feel that's going on. Like, should I have done that? I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. I should be doing this. I could have done this, right? Or the worthlessness or feeling unworthy, like of the relationship, of even caring for yourself, of the job that you have, or even applying for a job, or the change that you want to experience in your life. So if you start to feel a sense of guilt and unworthiness, or if you already feel that, then I would say, you know what, it's time to start talk. It's time to talk to somebody, right? So that was our discovery stage. And again, I'm just gonna say it again. The guy twitched. This conversation came up for me today because I just really felt like, when we start thinking about what is help, a lot of times in our community, we don't want to ask for help because we feel like there's going to be a perceived judgment about who we are, what we can do, and that judgment sometimes can help us stop us from getting the assistance we need. So I wanted to identify, and I wanted us to identify, well, what is help, right? And that's just somebody coming in to assist you in making this thing easier. Hey, if this conversation is something that you feel is pertinent to you, is something that you feel like is helpful, I want you to, comment, like, and share, this conversation, because there's a lot of people out here who stigmas around just asking for help and what help really is, and they may be dealing with some of these things and they don't know, like, oh, that is an identifier that either I need to build a skill, either there's some emotional management issues that I'm having, or some actions that need to be taken that I don't really know how to take, or some deeper diseases that we need to talk about. Okay, so that was our discovery part of the conversation. Next, we're going to go into strategy, right? So we know now what we're looking for, what signs we're looking for, Miss Danielle.
What do
Now,
we do?
what do we do, right? And the first answer is like, talk to somebody, right? But who do we talk to, right?
Ooh,
So should I talk to a coach or should I talk to a therapist about this, Miss Danielle? Right?
yes.
Because I mean, I hired a coach, but I still got these issues. Or I talked to a therapist, but they ain't helped me with this part. And so I really wanted to have this conversation around the difference between what is a coach and what is a therapist, and how they could assist you in these areas. Another reason why this came up, and I want you guys to, I had did the interview with Jessica Reedy, hometown Saginaw
Woo-hoo.
native, and it was a very great conversation, and I got a lot of feedback. And I was introduced as a therapist, like, Sheila's a therapist and 20 years of therapy, and all of that is true. But a lot of the comments was like, oh, I need her to be my therapist. And although there was some therapeutic techniques, one, I don't do therapy, and two, a lot of that was coaching her to understand some things, right? Now, and then the work I do with people is more coaching, even though
Yes.
I'm a therapist. And I think being a therapist qualifies me, Miss Danielle, to be able to provide more effective, more efficient,
Yes.
coaching, because I can identify some things. But there is a difference between if you need a coach and if you need a therapist. All right. So which one do we want to talk about first?
Let's start with the therapist, 'cause, I think that's more common.
Okay. So a therapist is often going to focus on your past and your present, right?
Nice.
And what's going on with you. And then they're going to look to your past life, and we're going to do an assessment.
And
We're
I would
going to
say
see,
heavily focused on your past
yes, yes,
and your
yes.
present.
And this is like, okay. And your past also includes a assessment of your mother, your father, your grandparents, like a family
Family
dynamic,
dynamics,
you know,
traumas.
traumas that happen within the family. They're looking at what kind of a environment you grew up in, right? If was there any traumas that happened then. So we're doing an assessment of a whole lot of things, like, did you have problems in school, right? Were you ever diagnosed with anything before, right? Was there any type of medical issues, right? So we're going to deep dive into your past to really see, why is this happening in this present moment, right?
Almost like reading your life book up until today. They're
Yeah.
gonna go back and read the entire book.
Hmm.
Up,
And how you saw that and how you experienced that. So tell me a little bit about your relationship between you and your mom.
yeah.
Oh, well, my mom, and so much so, who was your mom and what did your mom do, right? And who was your dad? Was he present? And different therapists is going to look at and read that differently, right? So you may have a CBT therapist that's looking at your thinking, right? You may
Yes.
have the inner therapist that's looking to heal the inner child and trying to see, okay, what did you miss out in that dynamic, and how was the child not taken care of or protected, right? If you're really dealing with some high DMS4 or DMS5 diagnoses, and this is a thing, when you're doing therapy, there is a diagnosis out there. So it is saying, hey, if this person demonstrates, 5 out of 7 of these behaviors, then they have this diagnosis, right? And then they send that diagnosis to the insurance company, and the insurance company say, yep, that person has that, we're going to pay, right? So typically, if an insurance company pays for it, you're getting therapy, right? Because that is a qualifying diagnosis that's qualifying you. Now, this could be some simple things like adjustment disorder, right? Like, we just moved, my kids start acting out, right? And so
Yeah.
he's adjusting to the situation. Hey, you know what? I just moved and I'm kind of find myself scared or like whatever. So you may have some adjusting. It's kind of difficult for me to adjust in this new environment. So this is therapy. It's a deep dive into
Deep
your
dive.
past to kind of see where you're at and why are you experiencing this in the present moment. So if you notice and get there. So that's what a therapist do. How do you know that you need therapy? Is because you're in that thing, right? So you're in depression, you're in anxiety, right? It's kind of with you the majority of the time.
and you can't figure out how to get out of it.
Yes, 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 right. Um,
Great
coaching,
summary.
coaching, it identifies and describes current problems um, for the client to work to current problems that the behavior can be modified, right?
Yeah.
So it identifies and describes current problematic behaviors so the client can work towards modifying them, right? And this,
So if we use our book metaphor, the coach is worried about the rest of the book.
yeah,
We're
yes,
gonna go over the cliff notes of everything that happened, but we worried about, okay, how are you gonna write the rest of this book?
the future, right? So how can we address this and move you forward? This is a
Yep.
problem. What do we need to do to move you forward, right? What do you think you need to do to move you forward? What do you think? Because a coach believes that you already know,
Yes.
right, the answer. So they're just kind of working with you to get your insight and
Because
continue
the
to work with you.
problems that we're allowed to work with are surface things. So, like, yes, if you're only feeling like this kind of often, we can help you navigate that. But if you come to a coach and say, I just can't get out of bed, and then you say, I really don't think life is worth living, okay, we're going to pass you to a therapist.
Yeah,
Because,
you may need to speak with a therapist about
yes,
that. So how does that look, Miss Danielle? Because I want to give an example. Let's talk about anxiety, right? So
yes,
it's people who experience anxiety even when they're on their couch, right? So they
wow,
just have anxiety, right?
really?
They're just, yes, they're just anxious. So they are
Because I've
anxious
heard of,
about,
like, yeah, people that won't leave the house.
yes.
I
So
can see
that,
that, like, because they're terrified that something is going to happen.
yeah.
But
So they
that's a
have,
difference from being anxious about going to a new event where you may not know everybody, or, just like a social anxiety kind of thing,
yeah, yeah.
one time event.
Yeah. So, but how do you know if I'm having anxiety? How do I know if I go see a coach about this or should I go see a therapist? It's because of the reason, right?
Ah,
So if you have this anxiety majority of the time, right, and nothing's truly triggering it, right? So you get up and you feel your heart racing, or you got to kind of take some breaths, and there's no real triggers, like you just kind of have anxiety about doing pretty much everything. But if you have anxiety about, what, every time I go to shoot a video, like I just get really anxious. You can see a coach about that, because now the coach can work you on a specific problem to move you forward on that specific task, shooting videos, right? I have a problem with, in the coach that I hired today was like, I'm having a problem with public speaking, right? So now a coach can help you specifically with the anxiety that you're having about public speaking, right?
yeah.
Or, I got to get this paperwork done and I just need somebody. So the coach is a specific problem that they're helping you work through anxiety with, right? Now, the coach may find out, like, oh, you just have anxiety, right? And so this is where you want to refer them to a therapist, right? So a therapist can dig in to see, like, what is really going on with this person. Depression, the same thing, right? So some people can come and say, I lack motivation to, um, I'm lacking motivation. Okay, why are you lacking motivation? I just don't, like you said, I just don't feel like getting up. I feel like I'm not, getting dressed or something like that. I would say speak to a therapist about that first, right? But if you're lacking motivation to move jobs because of security
Something
issues,
specific, yes.
yeah, or you lacking the motivation to ask for the raise that you desire, right? Then you'll talk to a coach, right? So we're looking at coaches that develop skills, right? Help you to make mindset shifts and help you to address some limiting beliefs that's preventing you from moving forward. A therapist is working on your past and really going back and identifying, okay, what happened, particular between the age of 0 to 10 in your life that created this trauma. But it could be all the way up until now. Like some people get divorced and they need a therapist to unpack that, right, emotionally.
So I thought of an analogy, and I'll run this by you because I think it applies. Because when we use the word coach, I feel like so many people are familiar with like sports coaches. So I always like to take it back. So it's almost like the difference between the head coach of a team and a doctor. Like, because a doctor is gonna, or I've been struggling trying to pick like a doctor or personal trainer, because like the coach, he's meant to help you execute the game. But if something happens, you break your leg, okay, you need to go. Like, this is outside of my scope. He has to be able to identify that you've sprained an ankle or pulled something or you can't perform, and then he has to pass you to somebody who can handle that, because that is outside of their scope. But I always like to bring it back to the sports analogy.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. I think the one that I use quite often is like what's triggering. Where is this thing triggering the past, or is it triggering a future place?
Oh,
And
okay.
I talk about, if you have a broken leg or something like that, it keep hurting. It's triggering this thing. You go to a doctor, the doctor identify there's a break, right? A therapist and a coach can probably identify there's a break, right? Now, the next step, so the therapist is in this doctor term, is going to see like the specialist, like, oh, how did this break? How long has this been broken, right? And what do we need to do to kind of heal that, right? We're going to cast it. We're going to do some things to kind of secure this thing. After you do that, then there is now I got to learn how to use this arm again or use this leg again. And we go to a physical therapist. When you go to the physical therapist is now teaching you how to walk on that leg, right? Again, I attest coaching to the physical therapist because they're doing the how, right? So in other words, therapists focus on why certain behaviors and patterns occur, and coaches work on how to work towards the future.
Yep.
Right. And this is important because some of us have worked with coaches and felt like, oh, well, they said they was going to help me heal, but they didn't, because the coach can't really, if they don't know how to identify the root cause, then you could not be, um, healing in the right way. Right.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people who have went to therapy, right, and felt like, okay, we talked about my past. We have identified. I'm ready to move forward and get past this. But the therapist can't really take them past that because that's not the therapist. It's time to pass the baton. So now you need a coach. And I would say for me, that's my role. You've been to therapy. You understand what has happened to you, but you're still struggling with how to move forward now. And then you would come to me in that transition, right?
Yep.
To kind of help you to do that, right? If you guys have any questions about this, please put them in the comments. I'm always looking at the comments and I'll answer. All right. So that's the strategy. What we need to do, identify who do you need to talk to? Do you need to talk to a coach? If you have identified out that list of 11 things, now who do I need to talk to? Do I need to, get with a coach or a therapist? And listen, a therapist is paid for by insurances. If you don't have insurances, there are platforms like BetterHelp. There's platforms like Speak Talk, whatever, you know what I mean, to kind of talk about those things. And then if you have any questions about either, or you can DM me or Miss Danielle to see like what would be the best thing for you to do. All right. You can always contact us about that. Implementation, again, contact someone, reach out. The dude Twitch today, I don't know if he talked to somebody about his problems. I don't know if he was wrestling what he was wrestling with. We call him wrestling with our demons or whatever, But if you find yourself wrestling with some demons, you need to contact somebody somewhere about that.
All right. They have hotlines and things for that, because I know a lot of, like, one of my things is I like the anonymity. I like talking to strangers. Like, this was back in the chat room days and things like that. And you would find people that you could just vent to, and you would feel better just talking, because this person doesn't even know me. They don't, they can't hold any of this against me. But and then as I got older, Facebook groups, finding support groups on Facebook that's free. It's a good
suicide prevention numbers. I mean, you can call 211 community. interventions, and I think that's all around. Call 211 and they can connect you with somebody. And you got a local mental health service, so you can always go there, get an assessment, or you can always go to the emergency room, right? And there should be a social worker on, that's there that can provide you an assessment and say, yep, nope, you just had a panic attack.
Yeah.
Oh, we think you should, refer you into some therapy or something like that. Okay. Right. And if you want more information about implementing the tools and strategies that we just talked about, you can always email info@shapingsolutions.org, or you can DM, you know, Miss Danielle at DCDR Solutions, or you can DM me at I am Shaping Solutions. All right. And if you feel like, hey, you know what, I understand, I got some of these issues, and you want to stop,
Take it to the next level.
right? And you want to move forward, and you can join our Stop It Now movement and get on www.stopitnowsolutions.com. And I don't know, I think we got about 100 and some people that can join our Elevate Her challenge. So if you
Woo.
haven't started the challenge, we're coming up on a new year. You probably want to update your language, update how you see
Yes.
yourself and things
Words
like that.
have
So make sure you
power.
join our 30-day Manifest the Life You Want Elevate Her challenge. It's free, right? It's our gift to the world. And,
Yes.
it's not going to cost you anything. So join that Manifest Your Life challenge at www.elevateherchallenge.com. The link to our Facebook group, so you can, make sure you join our Facebook group where Miss Danielle and Miss Danielle, is definitely looking and dropping in. We give tips, and if you guys want to talk about something, you can drop in.
Talk,
And
please.
again, make sure you follow and subscribe us on Shaping Solutions, our Shaping Solutions channel on YouTube at I Am Shaping Solutions, because next year, 2023, all of our Elevate in Life sessions will be off of that. I hope that this was informative. I think we got a lot going on in the world, Miss Danielle. There's a lot of people sad, people hurting. A
Yeah.
lot of people are joyful, and a lot of people are full too. We don't see that as much,
Yeah.
but I definitely want to make sure that there's some happy people out here, and there's some fulfilled people out here, and there's some joyful people out here, but there's some equally dishappy and unjoyful people. And if you are one of those people, you identify, as one of those people, then it's time to, like our show title,
And I want to leave it with, as somebody that's gone to you can come out of it. I think
mm-hmm,
that's, if you don't hear anything else that we've said, it's not, you can get out of it, whether
mm-hmm,
it is on your own, if you're just stubborn like me, or if you are powerful enough to ask for help from anybody.
courageous, right?
It
It ain't even a confident thing. It's just about being courageous. What's her name? Tabitha. So she did this post on Instagram today, so emotional, and it moved me so much. But what she was talking about was just that. Like, you may think that life is not going to get better, but I want to use this analogy like the clouds in the sky.
Yeah.
It's stormy, the rain is coming down, it's flooding, but those clouds are moving. They may be moving
Yes.
real slow, but the sun will shine again. You will see the blue sky again. It's a part of nature. And so
Good.
sometimes we can feel like we're walking around with the cloud over our head, right? And it's sunny everywhere else. But nature don't work like that. And I feel
No.
like that image was given to us in cartoons when we were little, like it's just a cloud over my head, and it may feel that way,
Yeah.
but with the help of someone
You're
else,
not
that cloud
Eeyore.
can move, right,
Yeah.
from over your head. And so we just want to be, if hopeful. I'm gonna use the word hopeful, but if you don't believe in hope, we want to be courageous and just step out and talk to somebody. And one conversation could possibly change your life and your
Yeah.
perspective on who and what you could become.
And a little by little at a time too. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be something massive, because that's what I was thinking. Like, if anything peaks out of these 9, if you take a little step forward, like Just
Yeah.
asking for a little help, like, can you just do the dishes today
Yeah.
and I'll get them tomorrow. You know, those little
Yeah.
things, it'll start the momentum of moving in the right direction.
Yeah. And just seasons. I mean, I'm a big component. We have seasons in our lives: winter
Amen.
season, summer, spring and fall. If you're a woman, you may even now. I don't know the cycle that men go through, but
They go through one.
yeah, but women, a lot of times a big shift is just managing your cycle, right? And knowing that, oh, you know what? I'm going through a cycle right now. This is why I'm feeling down. So sometimes it's not even situational, it's just what you're going through in your monthly cycle. And so there's just a lot of tips and stuff that we can use, but just don't give up hope.
Yep.
Remain hopeful and that things are going to change, that life, this too shall pass, right? And
Yep.
that everything is always working for your good. Even when you don't think it's working for your good, it's still working for your good. I'm Sheila. I thank you guys for watching. I thank you guys for subscribing. I thank you guys for pushing the alert button so you can get these. I thank you, Miss Danielle, for coming in and having this conversation with me week to week. We're on week 17. So I've
Yeah.
been with you 17 weeks, a little bit more than that, but 17 shows we've done,
Yeah.
and I'm looking to see what next year brings. Hey, if you guys have something that you want us to talk about next year, let us know. You guys be well. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. And I'm gonna say what everybody else said. And go on your friends. Just check
Please.
in. Let them know you doing good and see how they doing. Genuinely. All right.
Takes
Or
30 seconds or less.
yeah. Or you can send them this video. Hey, it's 9 tips. Right. All right. Okay. Talk to you guys soon.
See
Bye-bye.
ya.